Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Trent and Zyori podcast. We are here in the middle of March. It's the 18th, the day after St. Patrick's Day, at a special time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the evening for old Trent and all of our poor European viewers around the world. But we're back with episode number 142, and today we've got a special guest. It's Linus Ullmark. He's one of the starting goaltenders for the NHL ice hockey team, the Buffalo Sabres, and he also happens to be a pretty big fan of Dota 2. We had the privilege of getting to go out to dinner with him a couple weeks ago, or last week, when he was in town to play the Avalanche. The Avalanche kicked some ass, but it was still a hell of a time and a delicious dinner.
You had to bring that up, did you?
I had to get one little. He wasn't playing, at least, so we were both spectators in that one. But I'm glad he's able to make some time for us. Linus, man, thanks for being here. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure to get to hang out with you a little bit, and you got to get the full dosage. You got to hang out with Slacks, myself, Mott, and even a couple of Mott's real life friends that were in town for the game and some other stuff. So how was the experience meeting Slacks in real life? Let's start with the real good stuff. What did it live up to the hype? Did it live up to expectations?
Oh, it was intense. I spoke with Mott about it before, and he kind of gave me a little bit of a heads up to what kind of a person he is off the side too, and he delivered. I gotta say, he delivered.
Yeah, he tends to do that, and of course we've got Trent as well. Bud, how you doing over there?
Hi. Yeah, intense is definitely the word for Slacks. He's just, you think like, oh, he's not really like that. And you're like, oh, he is really like that. All right, that's cool.
Surely he's not that loud in real life. No, he is. Everybody knows when Slacks is in the room. That's for sure. So, boys, Trent, where do you want to start? You want to talk a little hockey first? You want to talk a little Dota first? We got stuff in both quadrants. The Dota 2 majors going on right now. DreamHack, Sweden,
Wow.
the home court for you, Linus. I guess a bummer that you're not back home to get to attend the major, huh?
Well, buddy, I'd rather be over here playing hockey in the NHL than sitting back home in Sweden watching some majors, though, because I can watch it here as well.
That's a pretty good idea, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
fair
got
enough,
the
dude.
right priorities on that one, I would say.
Fair enough. We got to do a little coverage for the major. We did first 2 days of the group stage. Trent and I were on Dream League 2, and we also set up Dream League 3 with Grant and Draskell. Then they had Killer Pigeon and Lacoste on Dream League 4. So it was chaos during the group stage, and now there's like this nice, easy-to-follow schedule on regular Dream League. What is it, Trent? Like 2-3 BO3s a day?
I think there was only 2 today, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so also. I only saw one series. I woke up and the stream was basically over. It's like the easiest major in the world in terms of scheduling. It's incredible.
Yeah, I came back for more games and the rerun had started, and I was kind of like, what? So I think they just played 4 games today. It was just Secret, Infamous, and Mineski J-Storm, and that was the day.
Yeah.
Gotta keep it simple, boys.
Exactly.
I tell you, that's what they're doing.
Have you gotten to catch any of the major, Linus?
I've done some highlight watching. I haven't catched any live action. So I just recently finished watching the Secret Infamous game, and there were some amazing plays here in the second game, I gotta say.
Yeah, I actually watched that series. That was the one series that I saw today. Poor Infamous. The Mason stack ended their run. The big upset was Liquid getting eliminated. That happened yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, right? By
This is
South American boys, the Chaos Esports Club.
Greg.
Misery and the boys.
Yeah, Misery and the boys. Exactly.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So did you go back and watch that game, Trent? I missed it live, but it was a slaughter.
No,
it was like
I still haven't watched the replay because like the servers were down when I went to watch it before, so I still have to go back and see it.
Okay.
So I'm very curious as to how that went down. From what I understand, it was a very quick game. So and then it was just kind of over. They picked Omni Knight and that was GG. So
I think there was like above 5K after 10 minutes. It was insane.
Yeah, I've been using that handy new Dota Pro Circuit app, which I want to talk about in a little more detail. I think we've all gotten a chance to use it if my little friend leaderboard has been updating properly on Steam, so that's kind of cool. You get to see how you're faring against your friends.
Really?
Yeah, you can.
I didn't know that.
You can
I'm
toggle.
not doing so hot.
You can toggle the like world ranking or whatever, and you can switch it to friends, and then everybody on your Steam list, just like everything else. Yeah, I see you, Trent.
Oh, buddy, you're in one.
But I forget where I was going with that. I started thinking about how cool this new app is. Maybe we should just segue there. Initial impressions. Is this cool? Are you guys going to use it past the major, or is this just going to be a one and done?
I kind of think it was kind of one of the things that Slacks talk about, that they didn't want to promote betting, and then they start doing it all over again with their own app. It was kind of a smart plan by Valve, I gotta say. You know, but
Yeah.
I like it. The initial thing is kind of an easy way to scroll around, and like you said, you can compete against your friends over the fantasy points, and you can put in some predictions. And it's not about like real monies or anything like that, so it's pretty harmless in that matter. So you got to be careful around those things.
Yeah, it's only shards, right? So it's only for Dota
Yeah.
Plus subscribers. So you have to have an active subscription to use the app, I guess. And then your shards are your currency, so you can bet up to 100 on any given match, and there's odds that I believe the odds fluctuate. I don't know where the starting points are, but I think they change based on bets because I've seen the numbers fluctuate.
Yeah, it's hard to
if you
tell.
close
It
the
seems to jump around quite a bit.
Yeah.
In my experience. So
Yeah, but one thing that's very good about it is that you can only bet 100.
Yeah,
That they
that
don't
is
have
very
that
good.
max limit and everything.
Yeah.
all in.
Yeah, I would have lost quite a few more on some of these. I went for some of these, sure bets like
Dude.
Liquid over Chaos. I mean,
Me
Liquid
Yep.
looking good, just one MDL. Of course, I'm not going to pick Chaos. What am I, stupid?
Yep.
Well,
I'm negative 150 right now. I made some back on the Keen versus EG. That was a nice underdog bet, but yeah, that shit was brutal. Vici Gaming, man.
My first 3 games were also like brutal. Like I
yeah.
thought Seekid would win it. I thought that Ford maybe do an upset in the best of 1 against Snip, and also obviously Team Liquid. But then I got it all back when I bet it on Keen against EG.
So
Yeah, I think I'm 2-8 by the looks of mine here, guys. So not doing so.
Wow.
I went with a lot of the. I just kept taking the over odds. I was like, oh yeah, sure win, easy game.
you guys are kicking my ass in fantasy, though. Trent's at 263, Linus is 261, and I'm 214.
Damn.
So I'm not gonna lie though, I got a little fucked. I took 2 LGD players and I didn't get their last series because I locked in too late. So
Okay,
I have 2
well-
players stuck at 0. So
yeah, I have LGD players and they don't play for another like 3 days.
Yeah, exactly. I also didn't realize the way it locked in, how you can only swap out players once that team's eliminated. I thought it was per day, so you pick a new roster every day when I first locked it in. So I was like, oh, LGD's playing. This is great. I'm getting all these LGD players. And I went, oh, now I don't even get points because the draft started when I locked him in. Oh, that's fucked. I didn't even
So
get
you
points
could
for the
take
second
them
game.
out? I intentionally just took who I thought would last longest in the tournament, thinking that was how you would get the most points.
Well, that was sort of what I thought too. But yeah, if a team gets eliminated, then those slots open up and you can select new people to put in for them.
Yeah, because
that's
I
interesting.
basically just try to think of who they played that day.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too.
And then it would then you have to kind of go in the next day and pick whatever plays that day and whatever. But yeah, it's like you said, because, well, I still have GH there on a 547. That was not a really good one.
I mean, I don't know. To be fair, I did click through all of the tutorials and instructions, so I can't be too upset. But I think the intuitive. I mean, I'm used to Vulcan. The old Vulcan days. If you guys remember that platform, the fantasy league for real money.
Yeah.
And
You shelled for that quite a bit.
Yeah, dude, they went ham with the marketing dollars. That was some of the highest hourly I ever made in terms of shilling for betting products. That was really
Attaboy.
top of my game. Yeah. But overall, it's pretty cool. I like things like this. For me, I let the reminders pop up on my phone, and it's nice to just see like, oh, that team got eliminated. Like for me, it helps remember what happened in tournaments when I get the updates as they come along instead of just reading afterwards like, oh, this team got 12th. Oh, this team got 9th. I forget within 20 minutes after reading that. But when I see them one at a time, I kind of remember, oh, okay, Infamous got 11th. I remember seeing that.
Oh, yeah, I like how they even put the dollar value. It said like 15K or whatever that they won.
50, yeah, and the DPC points.
Yeah, I never would have known that if I didn't get that notification on my phone. I'm not going to go into the Liquipedia and look how much money Infamous won, but that's going to like stick in my head now. So
Yeah.
I will say I'm glad they brought this out because this is a thing that you want at TI. But instead of releasing it 2 days before TI and it being all buggy, we got it like nice and early. So by the time TI rolls around, when I actually want to use this thing because, you can't access a PC to do this kind of stuff or whatever, then, hopefully they're going to make it so that all of our compendium stuff can be used through the app because that would make sense.
Yeah, that's my big hope. That it's not going to become some abandoned thing where, hey, this is all you get. I hope this is just the starting point, and then we see more iterations because I think you could definitely do a little more with it. Like it'd be cool to make a fantasy league with your friends so we could all play in one. That'd be kind of neat. Just spitballing here.
But have you guys ever used the esports app?
The score one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Only by
'Cause-
force, but yes.
that's what I was using before, and to kind of know when people were playing and what tournaments are coming up. But what I like about that one is that you had the newsfeed, and they also incorporated that one in the new app that Valve released, which is nice because you have all these, you see who played and who got eliminated, and also there, but also you can get some more informations in the future. I
Yeah.
hope about players and whatever going on. You have Alliance coming up with a rooster change, stuff like that. You can get more info on one platform instead of having to search for on all these other different kinds of platforms.
I guess we'll still have to use the other ones though if you get for like anything that's not DPC. So
Right.
like ESL1 or something, they're not going to show anything on the app, which is a bit of a missed opportunity. I don't know. I feel like you're giving out the licensing. I mean, how much harder can it be to work those tickets in
Yeah, it's
and
all
do the
through
same stuff?
it's all through
You know
the
what I mean?
Steam and Valve API anyway. Like it's all there.
It feels like I don't see how that's a downside to Valve. I'm surprised that they just were
Well,
like,
it would
it's
just
DPC.
it would just
That's
take
cool."
effort integrating with third parties that they'd have to communicate and work with on a regular basis. So
That is
know
true.
that's out. That's a deal breaker.
That
I
is
think.
not Valve's thing. No, thank you.
No, definitely not. When I saw it first drop, my immediate reaction was, dude, hosting DPC events just got so much easier. Day 5, you just pull this thing up like, oh, what was that draft? Oh, don't worry, Paul. I've got it here on my handy tablet phone. Oh, yes. Ice 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 did pick Timbersaw that game. Like it's perfect for actually working events when you're on the DPC panel, Trent.
Now you just got to get invited to some.
Exactly. That's all that's left.
Oh, buddy.
I mean, he's not wrong. I just got to put it to use. Oh, man. All right. Very good. Was there any other big Dota news? Ana is back. I guess that was the other big highlight since we've talked Dota. I don't know if there's much more to talk about besides that, but he's back. Very exciting. High expectations?
Yeah.
It's odd, isn't it? It's just like, I gotta take a break, this whole TI thing, and then he did like a little write-up with Red Bull, their big sponsor, and it was just like, I tried some poker. It was kind of fun. Yeah, I think Dota gets boring after a while, so I'm back now. I'm gonna try and win TI.
That's
like the whole
the
interview.
thing. It's so weird comparing, like when you compare these sports, when you compare my sports and all the other, like, I'm just gonna take a break a little while. I'll come back later, boys, when it gets interesting. It's like, dude, it doesn't really work like that. But that difference in this scene compared to the others professional sports.
The only people that can do that are Russian hockey players. They can be like, I'm checking out for a while. I might come back to the NHL one of these years. Yeah, they're
totally
equivalent.
Yeah, I'll go back to Russia a little bit.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons for that, especially in Dota, is that a lot of the money comes from prize pools, right? Like, obviously, if you're on a tier 1 team, you have a pretty decent salary. But, I mean, is there like a quote prize pool for winning the Stanley Cup, for example? Like, is the bonus just coming from the team because the owner's happy? Does that come from the league? Like, is there a purse attached to that?
No, we have a agreement. You have the Players Association that worked on the because we don't get any salary during the playoffs. So what you call is that we get playoff bonus to kind of be equivalent to what you make for salary. I haven't been there, so I don't know exactly the numbers about how much people get and all that stuff. But yeah, there's some compensation for going further and further into the playoffs, and obviously the longer you go, the more you get, which you should be because you're doing great for yourself and your team. But I can't tell you how much it is because I don't really know that stuff.
Yeah. I guess proportionally, though, for Dota, it's strange how much money. I mean, you look at esportsearning.com and there's a ton of Dota players at the top of the list, but most of them, that's one payment that they got one time. That's from winning a TI or getting second at TI or winning a couple of majors. I think that is just pales or their salaries pale in comparison to those massive prize dollars. So if you win something like TI, you can kind of sit back and go, I could take some time. I got some breather. You want to come back. You want to do something. I think that the way the prize pools are structured kind of makes that possible compared to being more reliant on a salary than just winnings.
Yeah, but for example, like you take Notel, that's from Denmark, and also when Alliance won, because the dollar is so strong compared to our currencies. If you win $1 million, you get 9 back home. So it's such a huge difference in how much you get actually for those prize monies. So
Trent knows all about that, Mister
Hell
Canada,
yeah.
raking in
Been
the
paying that
USD and the
USD,
euros.
baby.
okay, mate.
Yeah, that's great. I love it.
Oh, it's true. It's definitely an upside of the esports realm for a lot of people. That it's this. I mean, I think StarLadder is definitely one of those companies that's benefited from that being in Ukraine. It's a country with a currency that's historically not been super strong, but getting paid in dollars, that goes a long way. Where a lot of their broadcasts and operations come from. So it's totally different. But yeah, I want to stay on this train of thought and pick your brain a little bit as a professional athlete. What esports looks like. Kind of as an observer and what your take on it is, hearing player reactions and all the blogs and stuff that happens at tournaments. I guess I'm curious to hear your perspective on where you feel like everything's at and what we need to go from where we are now to the next level of professionalism and infrastructure. I mean, that's esports has always been modeling real traditional sports a little bit. So we're following in your footsteps, man.
Yeah, well, it's a very broad question, but I just think it's more about stability and safety for the players, because it's very hard to get there. Obviously, it's not like you have to do the grind. It's not like you get picked up by a team just because you're playing good in your solo queue or whatnot. You have to play around a team.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say just because you have those guys that win TI, yeah, they're set for life. But then you have those other guys that don't make it to TI and you just have to grind it out. They're very similar to golf players, I would say, because you have those top players in the golf scene, like Rory
Yeah.
McIlroy, Adam Scott, those guys that racks in huge amount of cash every tournament just because they're the best. And then you have all the other guys that are at the bottom who just grinds it out, has to pay for all their all their stuff, and they don't make anything out of it until they actually get to that to they make the cut and all that stuff. But and it's very I would say in that aspect golf and esports are very much alike. And I don't know, it's gonna be a just because how much the esports scene have grown lately. I wouldn't assume that it would take companies and teams to a very long time to get that stability for their players and I actually honor their contracts, because that's also one thing that's I
Yeah.
think is weird, that you can just kick a guy like and just say, buddy, sorry, that didn't work out, and then you bring another guy in and then you win a TI. It's you look at that old Lions story when they kicked Envy and they brought in all these guys and obviously they won it. And same thing for last year. Now it worked out in the end for OG, but like right before TI and all that stuff, they as for and fly, at least for EG, OG stands like, what are we gonna do now? Like we lose our players, we can't do anything. We have to qualify for this team. We have to find the players that are equal and as good as these guys are.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of stability that you actually set out to play with the same team maybe for a whole season or something like that would actually be better. I don't know. It's just it hasn't been like that just because it hasn't been any money in the scene and it hasn't been that stability. And you want to seek out the best players. And whenever
Yeah,
someone gets
there's no incentive to like there's nothing you're providing for. It's like I guess in a traditional sport thing, you have a hometown who have
Right.
fans. And so you have to have you are a service to these fans essentially. But when it comes like EG or OG, it's like sure they have fans and they follow them on Twitter and stuff, but I guess you don't really owe them anything.
no,
So
and
it's like, sorry guys, like we're kicking this guy. you
yeah.
know?
So that's the thing. And so I would say like especially the Dota scene is very, like I said, it's very similar to the golf scene, but it's also very similar to the football scene because there's no, in hockey and in basketball and baseball, you have these guaranteed contracts. You know,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
if you get kicked, yeah, you get kicked. You still get your money. You're still getting paid until your contract is over. But in football, if you're a kicker and you miss 4 kicks, you get the boot, and then you don't have any any money coming into
Yeah.
your pocket. So the scene of Dota is very similar to they just kind of picked from everywhere. I don't
Yeah.
know if they picked all the good things or the bad things, but it's very similar to a lot of sports just kind of combined into one. So that makes it so difficult, kind of tell you, okay, they need to do this, they need to do that to create something even better, because it's very hard to know, because you can't just
Yeah.
go, oh, we need to do what football does, we need to do what baseball does, we need to do what golf does.
Right.
You can't, because this is a whole different beast when it comes to the whole perspective of what the players need and wants to do.
Yeah, there's no one-to-one. I think one of the things that's jumping out at me right now that's way different is the lack of substitutes in esports, right? Like in every traditional sport, you have a backup and then a backup to the backup. You have this full roster. You're some days you start, some days you don't. That doesn't really happen in Dota. You're either on the team and you play in every fucking game unless you have a broken arm or you can't get a visa or there's some literally they won't let you in the country to play. Outside of that, you're the guy. And a lot of times teams don't even have a sixth person alternate there. I mean, officially for TI, there are substitutes on the roster, but that's a pretty underutilized thing. Nobody wants to be a substitute. And even teams that have substitutes, you don't rotate them in the same way like you would with hockey goalies. Or, okay, this guy's hot, we're going to let him play another game. That you don't have two mids where it's like, okay, guys, mid one's hot today. We're going to let him play. We're going to swap him out. We're going to let Dendy play a couple of rounds. Mid one fed last game. I mean, can you imagine? Maybe that is the next evolution of our sport. And at that point, you have that flexibility. If it's not working out with the team, you take the bench instead of taking the boot, but you're still on the team.
I think
Yeah.
the only people who do that doesn't Overwatch League do that? I'm pretty sure they do that kind of stuff with they have subs and shit, but that's because they're franchised. I mean, that makes sense, right? Because they have all that stuff we're talking about. They have a fan base in a town they're supposed to represent, and they have consistent contracts, and they have yes, you'll be here for the year for X amount of dollars and all that stuff. So it kind of makes sense that you can develop a substitution in those settings. But I mean, I'm kind of glad that Dota has it the way it is, though, because it does. I mean, it helps you make the best of the best teams. I mean, that's pretty.
Well, yeah,
sweet.
definitely. But also, I kind of like the idea. You can't just go like, yeah, we're just gonna have a second team, and then whenever we have someone from our team getting injured or anything like that, because it doesn't really happen that often that a Dota player get injured, even though they do.
Mhm.
And then you're just gonna call them up from your minor team. It's not like you do that. It's hard. So I don't know. It's hard to say, but because it's the same thing. It's different to compare to, because we play play bigger sports. We have 20 players on our team, and obviously someone gets hurt or injured, and it's a long season. But now these guys play more. I would say they play more with their brains and all that stuff. Obviously they use their fingers and whatever, but it's more taxing for the mental aspect of the game.
Mhm.
So yeah, it might work to have substitute, but it's kind of hard because it's a whole different player, and that's when you do that in our sports, that whenever someone gets injured, you try to look at someone that might fit this guy's description of what he brings to the game. So you might have substitutes that are better at playing supports, but
Yeah.
if your mid is injured, it's
Yeah.
it's kind of a hard transition to go into that core role when you're used to playing support and you're better at it. It's not like I'm going to go out there and play D for just because they need me a guy there up underneath. No, it doesn't work like that. You play against the best. You do what you do when you're at your best. For me, that's playing goalie.
Mm. The other aspect that I keep thinking about is home versus away. And you kind of touched on it before, Trent, with, in traditional sports, you're localized around an area, and that's part of it. You've got Philadelphia pride if you like the Flyers, and it all kind of feeds itself. Do you think home for away, does it make a big difference as an athlete for you, Linus? Like can you feel the home court energy? Because it exists for a handful of teams, but even just teams from one country or one region, one very close region is relatively rare in Dota.
Yeah, but I would say, yeah, you definitely feel it. And I think guys that come from different countries can say the same thing. So, for example, you take Virtus Pro in the CS:GO scenes. Whenever they play in Russia, obviously the team or the fans that are there gonna root for them, all right,
Yeah.
because they're these Russian legends,
Yeah.
and everybody loves them. So yeah, they're gonna feel more pumped up. They're gonna feel more pride in being there, playing for their country. Even though they play for themselves and their team, they play also for their country. And you don't really get that at event when you play maybe in the States or whatever. Yeah, you have your fan base there too, but that's also what I like about Dota is that whenever you go to TI, it doesn't really matter where you're from because you can still feel the hype.
Yeah,
It doesn't
that's
really
very
matter.
true.
It was very obvious, yeah, in the finals where OG and LG played against each other. Yeah, the Chinese fans wanted LG to win, and also OG go home and stuff like that. So yeah, but still, they were in Vancouver. They weren't in China.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a very cool thing to see live that okay, this actually they brought their A game as fans to kind of push their team to the limit and win against OG, and it didn't really work out in the end.
It's true. It is interesting how truly global esports is, and you'll still have these regions like, you're not in China, but a huge rally for a Chinese team. It does speak to our scene. Isn't that makes me feel all fuzzy, Trent? Jeez.
Well, the other thing is that I guess like we don't have home. You don't really have home court advantage because again, without like franchising or whatever, it's just like I mean, one of the big things about playing at home, I'm sure, as a pro athlete, is that you get to actually go home. It's like, oh yeah, I got a game
Yeah.
tomorrow, but I'm not in a hotel. So obviously you're feeling a lot better when these guys flying from event to event. It's just
That's
the
true.
hotel is the home for all of them.
Yeah, I know that. I've been on the road for a lot of games this season too.
Yeah.
And it really is different because whenever you get home, you get this sort of relaxed feelings. You see your family, you see your kid. If you have that friends and whatever that you might have in your hometown, and you kind of get that more relaxed really feeling when you go out there. You have a little bit more of a feel good, even though
Yeah.
you can love being on the road. You never know, like y- it might be you might be in a rough spot where your girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever break up with you, and you just want to get away. So then these away games could be a savior in your daily life as well because you kind of get away from your home instead.
That's true.
I feel some of the Dota players definitely feel that, man, because they don't clean. When they're at hotels, the life's a lot easier. They don't have to worry about cooking. Nothing that they can't do that at home anyway. They can't clean up after themselves at home. The road is very important for a lot of these guys.
It cuts both ways, though. I think it's really hard on some players. Like I can remember the days of organizing the summit and listening to the different food requests, especially like the old Fnatic guys like Fly and that crew. They had very specific food requests of, we want meat, we want vegetables, like we're working out. I don't want fried shit. I don't want sticky sweet sauces, and for them, it was like, it's hard for us to eat healthy on the road. It's easy to eat stuff that tastes good, but it's actually kind of hard to get just regular old meat and vegetables, like the kind of stuff I would cook if I were actually at home. So that they might be in the minority, though. I definitely admit that. It's tough out there.
Yeah, it is tough, and I think especially for them because they're so tired after their grinding or whatever they're they're playing the whole day. But I think they're actually onto something very big there, and because you got to treat your body like a temple. It doesn't matter whatever you do, you got to do whatever is best for your body because it makes your brain feel better too as well. If you just go around eating shitty food for
Yeah.
I don't know, for half a year compared to actually living a pretty good life of what you're eating for 6 months, you're gonna feel a huge difference. You're gonna feel more energized, gonna feel more vitality, you're gonna feel more fresh. All that stuff is gonna be so much easier for you to kind of refocus,
Oh yeah.
and especially for your brain because you're on for so long time. I mean, whenever I was young and I got into a grind, when I played for like 5 hours, I was just dead. Like it felt worse than playing like a hockey game, even though I'm out there. But it was just how it felt for me when I was younger, when I was playing against these other 16-year-old boys. So playing now against men, yeah, it's tougher, obviously. But these guys that are sitting in front of their computer and playing Dota for 9 hours, that's tough. That's really, really tough.
It's the long haul. It's very very taxing. That first game goes a lot better than the ninth game. I am sure for most of them.
Yeah.
I've heard Mott describes your gameplay as untiltable when you're playing. Do you think that's the is that the goalie mentality in your Dota matches?
I would say it's more about me as a person. Obviously, when I was younger, I tilted, but I was tilting more at myself than I was tilting at my teammates. I'd never been a flamer or anything. I was just enjoying the game, and now obviously I got a kid at home, and it's you can't really tilt. You gotta you gotta show some respect towards yourself, and you gotta be leading by example. So whenever I'm playing now, maybe if I get tilted, I would just write in chat, but just erase it right away. So it's almost like I get it out there, but the player that I want it to be seen by,
Right.
I don't let him see it. I just erase it. Then it feels like I actually said something and got it out of my system. It happens very rarely. I would
Wow.
say it happens more now when I play in the NA scene than the European scene. But
No, say it ain't so. Come
oh, it
on.
is, it is. But it amazes me how mad people are when they're playing this game. It amazes me, and that's probably like I always try to be kind to everybody that's on the web or on the web. That sounds like the internship.
Surfing the web,
Maybe.
dude.
Surfing the web. No, but whenever someone starts tilting, that there's someone on their team that's tilting at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever they write something in all chat, I just kind of speak to my team and just kind of go at this guy instead of flaming each other. You just flame this guy instead,
Yeah.
and you just kind of play his weak side because obviously he's gonna get tilted and he's gonna get mad, and then he's gonna play worse, and then all of a sudden he's gonna blame his other teammates. His team is gonna blame him, and it's just gonna be a storm of emotions.
Do you use this on the ice as well? Have you ever pointed out like, yo, he's pissed right now?
Oh yeah, we do that all
Yeah.
the time. It's all about playing the mental game, and that's why you have these guys that are really good at just trash talking.
Yeah.
They're not as often nowadays as it used to be, but if you get a microphone on some of the guys, you're hear some good stuff, man. There's some funny stuff, and there's like some chirps. They're they're impressive. They're really impressive. So that's also one of the things that I kind of miss in the Dota scene, that there's no trash talking, but I'm also glad that there's no trash talking except for the tips, though. They're
Yeah.
hilarious.
Oh, the tips are good.
They've been a
Yeah,
good addition.
that was an excellent. Do you think you're the prime target for the chirping as the goalie?
Actually, I'm not, uh, because you have these star players in our team and in all other teams that you might want to go after, but they've gotten there to a reason. Like, they know that they're good. So obviously maybe you go for the mid tier guys that that could be a difference, and they can be a difference maker in the game,
Right.
or
Yeah,
or
okay.
they can just sink the boat. And then you have just some guys that you don't want to anger, or you don't want to talk to them at all because they feed off it. Like, they get so much better, and all of a sudden
Ah,
they're a
that's the
force to be
no-tail.
reckoned with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of like you have these. Yeah, but like you have this guy like Milan Lucic is one of those guys. Like, if you start trash talking and start trying to hit him and all that stuff, like, he just feeds off it, and all of a sudden he has 2 goals.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds like a Marchand thing too. Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
and the same thing, like Giroud in Philadelphia, he's also a terrific player. Can run his mouth like one of the best chirpers out there, but he's just that good. Like, he backs it up every night whenever he's talking, he backs it up. So I'm very impressed by those guys.
Are you allowed to just bring out the verbal flamethrower on the ice? Like, can you get like a unsportsmanlike conduct or something for yelling at people, or is it pretty much anything goes?
I would say anything goes except for the regular things. There's no racial slurs or anything like
Right.
that.
But
Uh, there's nothing going on with anybody's sexuality. It's all about being respectful, but still being on the edge.
okay.
So if you're like, because there's some guys that gets mad at the refs, and the refs doesn't care. They give you shit back. So that's what also I'm very impressed about the refs. You might complain about an icing, and the guys are saying, no, you're absolutely wrong, and you're terrible today, maybe. So they would chirp you back, and it's very impressive. And we have, because everybody respects each other
Mhm.
that deeply. So when all's said and done, no one really cares about what the other people said, because everybody keeps it to a very good level. There's, like I
Yeah.
said, there's no racial slurs or anything like
No,
that.
that's I hear what you're saying. I mean, I think there's a degree of trash talk that can be kind of healthy, to amp it up. Two rivals are going at each other, and it's coming from a place of I genuinely think I'm gonna win, and that you suck, and they both feel that way. That's kind of it's cool. It adds to the buildup. I mean, that's the whole essence of a rivalry there. So it's all
Yeah,
about knowing where the line is and not going over the line. I think is exactly.
exactly. And like I said, it's all about being respectful to each other.
Mm,
So and it's now playing my first full year here. I'm very impressed about all the boys and also what's going on behind the scenes and on the games and all that stuff. So yeah, it's a weird world, but
yeah.
it's a very fun world, and I'm very fortunate to be playing this great game of hockey.
One of the other differences I'm always curious about is like PR training, and I don't know specifically for NHL, but I assume you guys get some sort of like coaching or assistance in how to do interviews and how to handle the press, how to like handle yourself, things that you shouldn't talk about, all that
Social
sort of stuff.
media.
Yeah, social media, the general do's and don'ts.
Yeah.
That's becoming slightly more standard in esports. I think a lot of the tier 1 teams are realizing how much of a liability it is to
Oh,
not
yeah,
coach
they've
their
all
players.
got talking to.
So I
Yeah.
think now it's not as new age, but there's still a long ways to go, and there are a lot of kind of 1.5 tier 2 orgs that don't quite have that same level of leverage over their players. And I'm always curious to hear from individuals like yourself, that perspective on PR as a pro athlete.
Well, yes, we I've gone through a lot of PR training, but I'm still not like I can still have bad days. I just had it against when we lost recently against Carolina, and I was mad at myself for how I played, and I just got in there way too early. I didn't cool off way enough. So when I walked in there and started talking to the media was giving me good questions, but my answers wasn't really they weren't good enough. We all have an expectation of ourselves of what we're supposed to be talking about and how we're supposed to say stuff, and this more in my mind came more out as just sulking, and that's not where you want to go. You don't want to go
Right.
out there and
Mm-hmm.
just, oh, poor me, or something like, oh, I was just terrible today. No, you want to keep your chest high and your head up, and just talk about what happened, what needs to be improved, if you lost or anything like that. And that's why whenever you see hockey players have their conferences after games, they're very boring, I would say. it's
Oh
it's
yeah, gotta get pucks deep. Yeah, a couple good
exactly.
bounces there.
Gotta
Yeah,
gotta get pucks deep when everybody say,
yeah.
"What's the problem? Why are you losing?" Like, we don't know that. We don't know why we're losing. If we knew that why we're losing and why we lost a whole bunch of games, yeah, we would obviously not be doing it. So it's all about being boring, like being concise, very
Yeah.
upfront, and like, because it's if you don't give them anything, they can't spin off it, because media is so good of taking, you know, making a hen out of feather. That's
Yeah.
what they do. That's their job. They hear something, okay, this is something weird, and then they kind of try to spin off of it, try to get more information and more and more. And if you keep on spinning, it's just going to become this huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we want to be concise and very forward and very clear about what we want to be, how we want to say things. There's no blaming on anybody except for ourselves, because if you start blaming the team, okay, for me, let's say for an example, me as a goalie start complaining about the defense,
Right.
media is going to write it up like the goalies think the media is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden I pulled in my goalie partner in what I said, and they put us goalies against the defense. And there's nothing like that, because we're all in the same team. We're not going toe to toe to each other and just saying all day long that guys suck, you guys suck, it's your fault. We're not blaming anybody but ourselves. So on your off days, it's very tough to control your emotions and don't let the emotions speak for themselves, because
Right.
that's when the media loves to talk to you, when you're a little rattled, when you're a little bit too amped up. And I've done my fair share of blunders and stuff that I shouldn't be saying. I've kept it
Yeah.
luckily on a very innocent level, which I'm very happy about, just because of I'm coming from Sweden. English is my second language. I kind of have that leeway on someone else that might be from Canada or the States. So
Right.
yeah, it's tough to talk to the media, and we get a lot of training. And I always talk to our PR guys about what I can improve, and they always be there for us, and they can kind of read who's having a good day or not. So I owe a lot to those guys for helping me along the way this season.
So obviously the media, I guess, has been a thing for like decades now at this point for players. But what about like Facebook and Twitter and like, do you ever just wake up in the morning and you check your phone and there's like, do you just see some guy just being like, fucking Linus led through 4 goals last night, sack of shit. Why is he not cut? Like, does that affect you? Does the team talk about that kind of stuff to you?
I think that's kind of why I'm not tilted anymore when I play.
Yeah.
Like, buddy, it is every day almost,
Yeah.
especially when you're playing badly. And even games when you play good, there's always the naysayers. There's always those guys that don't like you, whatever. And it just, like, imagine being, I know you're a Toronto guy, right, Trent? You like
Yeah.
Toronto,
Yeah.
the Leafs.
Yeah.
Good for you, bud.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. It's a great year. See you Wednesday.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, because hockey is everything for the Canadians, all right, and the Leafs are such a huge fan base, so you have these guys that might not be playing very well. They're not afraid to attack you, even though you might like look at Nylander,
Yeah.
who signed a late contract, didn't really have the good start that he wanted to, and then all of a sudden he's the worst player the franchise ever had for in some of the fans, and these are like guys that wants the team to succeed. That's just kind of how the social media is for us. Yeah, when you're playing well and you're winning and you're scoring, everybody just brings you up to the top. Everybody wants to give you praise, and then but as soon as stuff gets hard, it gets really hard in that matter. So you try to kind of, that's why a lot of guys just kind of stay off of it, because even though you might see it and you don't really care about it, maybe 1 or 2 of those lines kind of sticks with you, and it kind of grows into something bigger than it has to be. So watching these these guys from the Dota scene or CS:GO scene or whatever, and they start getting into these arguments with each other over social media, I'm like, buddy, come on. like like you're just like an internet troll even.
Yeah.
And I think everybody knows what I'm talking about in the Dota scene. But I'm not gonna name anyone. But it's just kind of weird. Like you would never see someone else kind of go toe to toe against each other. Yeah, there's some. We joke around with each other. Yeah, we do. But we try to stay off of it as much as possible.
I think one luxury that you guys have is you have really good teammates and really good coaches and really good support staff. So if you have like a bad game or whatever, you don't even have to look at social media because you've got your team to improve, whatever, fix the problem, focus on the next game. As casters, we don't always have that, right? It's sort of, well, we kind of need to see what people think about this in general. Oh, they didn't like it. Okay, well, let's see how bad this is.
Trent Pack's Reddit, and the second thread, or the second hit is, how come we have Lyrical and Trent Packs casting a lower bracket final? And then just a thread about people just like, yeah, question of taste. It's like, really? I don't like them. They suck. And other people are like, oh, I think they're great. It's like, don't even notice when Ame died with Spectre. It's like what? 2 4K shitters who doesn't have enough knowledge at all to cast these big important games. And it's just like, the usual stuff. But you can always find a little bit of help in those claims, right? You're like, okay, well.
Usually, that's our mantra internally, at least. Usually, it's based on a grain of truth. It's just amplified to a degree that's unreasonable. But there's a little nugget there that's they got triggered for a reason,
Yeah, And I understand, like, you guys are doing a terrific job, whatever you're doing. And obviously, you have, like, these guys that are complaining about something new. Like, I think you guys are doing a terrific job. These are basically guys that have been watching Toby One casts all their life. And they
Yeah.
just want this hype cast all the time. And you're not going to get that all the time. You have to have, like, like, you can't just
Yeah.
eat the same thing all the time. You have to put in something else on your plate to kind of enjoy the other things that you love the most even more.
Hell yeah.
But people don't really understand that. You just want, okay, this guy, I hate him. He's not any good. Like, this guy just barely started.
Yeah.
Like,
And
he's
people change, man. You know, they grow. I remember
yeah,
Toby posting once, like, you know, it's not that I'm not excited anymore. It's just the first time I saw a 5-man black hole, that shit blew my mind. I've seen 35-man black holes now. It's not mind-blowing anymore. I've seen it, you know, and that's my natural reaction. That's me not faking it the first time and also not faking it now because it's not that same mind-blowing play it was when I, you know, saw this setup at TI2 or whatever.
yeah,
I think that's
exactly.
very astute.
And like the amount of information that you have to process as a caster is also like mind blowing, because like now I watched a Secret Infinite match, and there's a play on the bottom lane where Nisha as a Morphling goes in and he uses his ulti on Tiny, switches, tosses him back, get a free kill on Mason, who's a lifestealer, core, and biggest guy on their team. And like, that's a huge play, and yeah, you get hype for that, but I'm just sitting there like, damn.
I mean,
And like, imagine being a caster, like, you might just want to just nod your head, clap your hands,
yeah.
but you have to actually tell them what is going on, because you have people that might not understand what's going on. And it's just amazing how people are so good at telling the story of the game as the game is going on.
I mean, that's kind of how I feel watching goalies make saves. As a spectator, it's mind-blowing to me that you can process where the puck's going and make an, you know, it's not just guessing like, oh, I think he might go right. You know, it's like you're at, like, I can't process how you're able to process that information so quickly to make the clutch plays that you guys make. You know, I have to watch it in slow motion just to process what the fuck's happening, and you guys are doing it in real time. You know, I feel exactly the same way for that, you know, the other side of it.
Yeah, you know, and it all comes from practice, you know. And it's the same thing with casters. They have to practice, practice, practice.
That's true.
Yeah.
And
It's
I
the
don't know how
secret to
much
life.
practice. Yeah,
The
exactly.
grind.
Exactly. And it is the grind. Like, people don't understand that it's not about talent, it's about the grind. Because you have Will Smith said a very good thing, is that whenever if he competes against someone, if he's gonna put you against him on a treadmill and you're gonna run until anybody taps out, he's gonna beat you or he dies. Like, legit, that's what he said. He's gonna run until he dies, because he's not gonna let you win. And that's the thing people don't understand, is that it's all about the grind. You have to practice to be good at something. It's not about, okay, I'm just gonna pick this computer up and just figure it out like that. No, you don't. You start off from step one and you work your way through it, and then you put in the hours. Like, when Notel said, yeah, how many hours do you have at Dota 2? I don't know. I maybe have like 30,000 hours total. Dude, that's like, and that was before Han. That was like, like, imagine those hours combined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy hasn't really
Yeah.
been slacking off and just, yeah, he was good at Han, so that's why he's good at Dota too. No, he put in the work, and now he's a TI champion. So it's basically everybody can achieve whatever they want if they just put the work into it.
Yeah, totally agreed, man. Absolutely. So I've heard that part of your ritual on game days is that you try to sneak in at least one pub every game day. Is that true? That's fact?
Oh, that's a fact.
Yeah. So
That's a fact.
has that strategy ever backfired? Has the great untiltable Linus ever played a game that has gone so bad? Have you ever gotten stuck in a 2-hour Slack style techies match and you're like, fuck, I got to go lace up and this game's not over yet? Come on, boys.
It's been close when I was younger. That I never been late or anything like that. But I know, like, I play this game for fun and whatever. Okay, I might see, okay, I got 1.5 hours until the bus leaves. I can get in a game or something, and I start playing. All of a sudden, I realize, oh, this is going to be a long one, and you get up to 45, you get up to 50. Oh, you look at the time. Oh, it's 30 minutes left. You get up to 120, like, and it's like 50 minutes left until the bus goes. I just shut it down. I tried my best to like actually make it work. I shut it down, and then I get dressed and I pack everything I have, and then I get on the bus.
Can you imagine being in that game? Just like, guys, I have to abandon. Sorry, I got to go. I'm playing in an NHL game. I got to go. No one would ever believe that.
No,
Yeah.
no, it's just that. But nowadays, I just I look at the time and say, okay, do I have time? I probably do not have time. So, but yeah, I try. It's not like I'm sneaking in a game here or there or anything like that. It's actually, it is a ritual for me to play, and it grew out of me being too nervous before games. So I would just start worrying about what was going to happen later on in the night, that I had to get my mind off of things. So I started playing video games. That was before I actually met my wife, and that was a long time ago. And I would play, and she and start. I would feel better playing my games in the evenings, and I just kind of kept doing it. She's been very supportive of letting me do it now too, when we're older. Obviously, I don't play on my free time or anything like that, because I have responsibilities to do. So, but whenever there's a game day or stuff like that, and I'm playing or I'm backing up, it doesn't really matter. I like to get my mind off things and get 1 or 2 games in, and then just kind of, let everything else be whatever they wanted to be, and just focus on playing Dota and just enjoy it.
Dude, that is sick. That's one of the most legit like Dota for therapy stories I've ever heard. Like, I play Dota 2 to calm my nerves before I play professional sports. That's badass. I don't know if that's the experience most people have playing Dota. I think it's kind of the opposite. Dota's the game they play to get amped up,
Yeah. It's a terrible idea. It's like, oh yeah, no, there he goes, right down mid. All right, cool. Really glad I wasted an hour doing this. Then the baby starts crying, but it was like, why the fuck did I do this?
Yeah.
Why did I even play Dota?
So
That's
yeah.
I mean, do any teammates play? Is this a purely solo endeavor? Do your teammates know that that's part of your ritual? Are there any other like gamers in the league that you get to talk shop with?
I don't know if there's any more Dota 2 gamers in the league. They basically mostly play Fortnite, PUBG. No, well, not really PUBG nowadays. It's Apex.
Okay.
So Fortnite and Apex are the big ones, and COD obviously, because everybody's big console gamers.
Okay.
I mean, I never been a NHL or a FIFA guy, and they used to be that. And because I've always played on a computer, I played on my computer since I was like 10 years old, and I was playing CS, I was playing Dota 1, all those games. So the computer has always been my main console, if you want to say it like that.
Yeah. I hear you.
So I just stuck with it. And yeah, I love playing Nintendo. I play Switch on the roads whenever we're on the plane ride or everything like that, because I mean, I have 3 hours to spare. What should I do? Just sit on my phone? No, I'm going to play my Switch. I'm going to play my Legend of Zelda and just kind of find these goddamn 900 Korok seeds.
Yeah.
And you got to get on the Smash train. Then you'll really be speaking Trent's language.
I do have Smash, but I'm a guy that likes to when I fully commit to a game, I fully commit. So now, yes, I have Crash Bandicoot. I played Super Mario, the Odyssey game, and I played that full until I had everything in the game. And now I started with Breath of the Wild. I played it at home on my Wii U, so I know the main story of it all, and I played through that. So now I'm just doing everything on the side while I'm playing the main story. So I'm taking more time of actually enjoying it and exploring it.
Yeah, man, that'll take you a while. That's a lot of plane trips. That game. Jesus.
That is a lot of plane trips, especially when you want to try to find everything and upgrade everything. But I mean, it's just it's a beautiful game. I gotta say, it's definitely a very, very. No, it is my favorite game when it comes to like consoles.
Mm-hmm. The Switch is really
definitely way up there.
It's really grown on me. I really have not been into consoles since like the original Xbox, like maybe Xbox One or whatever. And the Switch is the first one that I've actually played somewhat regularly. It's a perfect party game. Mario Party, Smash, bring your friends over. Nintendo's slaying.
Oh yeah, they've done a good job. So yeah,
I like it. All right, well, we're getting pretty close to the hour mark, boys, here. I think we'll start winding down a little bit. Trent, you got any more hockey-related stuff you want to talk about here? I do want to talk about Mars a little bit before we wrap up, maybe as a final topic here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was curious because I know a lot of hockey players are very superstitious. And I guess you could almost call playing Dota not necessarily superstitious for you, but it's definitely like, something that you do on game day to prepare
Ritualistic.
yourself. Do you have any teammates that have like really weird rituals or superstitions, or have you heard of some pretty wild ones?
Yeah, I do, but they're not for me to share.
Too secret. Yeah, okay. Yeah, any you can share, of course.
Yeah, no, for like goalies likes to be superstitious. Obviously, I'm not a huge superstitious guy. I'm more, but that's the thing. I say I'm not superstitious. I'm saying more of a routine guy. Other people will say I'm more superstitious, but it's just kind of how I've always been doing stuff. Like I always put my left things on before my right thing, like my left skate or my left pad before my right pad, all that stuff. People say, "Oh, that's superstitious." Like, no, like I've always done that. It's not like if I switch to going right pad first, my game's gonna collapse. it's not like that.
Well, you'll never know because clearly
Exactly.
you're not going to.
Well, the thing is, maybe in intermissions I would take off my right pad, and all of a sudden I have to put that on. It's not like I'm taking off my left pad, also just because I have to get my left pad on before the right one. Stuff like that. And no, I would say it's before it was a lot of superstitions, but we don't have anyone really going around knocking his stick in the ceiling or start doing this weird squatting things in the dressing room or anything like that. It's basically guys being a little bit, like, I would say, more professional nowadays to before. That they incorporated this routine of warming up. So you see guys doing all these different things, and it's more about their routine before games than actually doing superstitious things. I think everything's gonna work out. I tapped the light switch on and off a couple times. I'm good now. It's not
right. Yeah, I see. It's just getting yourself in the zone or whatever.
Exactly.
So something else totally unrelated that just came up that I want to mention before we wrap this up. You do some stuff with animals, with dogs. SPCA is that right?
I believe it's Ullmark's Barks.
Yeah.
Ullmark's Barks.
What's going on with that?
So basically, it's to promote shelter dogs, because I have two corgis myself, and dogs has always been a big part of my life, and I always loved dogs. Sometimes I even love dogs more than people, just because I know what I get from a dog than I get from a person.
I hear that.
Like if you're not gonna get this what's it called, passive aggressive stuff from a dog, no, you're gonna get either love or hate or whatever. You know what it is. But like I said, it's more about promoting dogs that are in the shelters. And for me, we're working with the SPCA of Erie County here in Buffalo. And for me, I have draft picks. So they send me a dog that's in for adoption, and I tweet it out and tell a little bit of the dog, and I put a picture up, and then we have more information on the actual website. So that will get people to maybe thinking about a dog, see this dog, okay, I like that dog. I might take a look at it, and they go in there and they meet this dog, and this dog might not be the dog that they want it to be, and all of a sudden they see this other dog in the crate next to it, like, oh, this dog is my dog now. So it's all about creating awareness for these guys that are in there, and promote them and get more people to realize that there's a lot of dogs that need help. And then also Buffalo Sabres Twitter account helps me out, because they retweet and help me out with whatever I put out there. So we try to reach a bigger audience than they would do maybe putting up ads in the newspaper or online.
That's awesome, man. That's really cool. That's a great mantra for animal. What's one? Is it adopt, don't shop, or something like that? There's a couple different sayings like that. But
oh yeah, there is some beauties out there. I gotta tell you, it's always great fun to go to a shelter. So I gotta say that, I gotta throw that in now. I gotta promote this. So
do it.
If anyone thinks about adopting a dog or a cat or whatever, or want to get a new companion, go to a shelter first. There is terrific dogs and cats and other animals in there, and you might get a friend for life going out there,
Mhm.
and it is a very fun thing to go there because obviously the dogs that you get to meet are very well behaved, and they wouldn't be put up for adoption if they weren't.
Right. Yeah, it's you're kind of hedging your bets, so to speak, in terms of.
Dude, all these pictures are adorable.
Yeah,
I'm like looking at all the
it's
ones
dangerous,
you tweeted
dude.
out, like, damn.
It's dangerous territory. Open with
Yeah.
caution. At your own risk, I guess. But no, that's really awesome, man. That's really cool. I think that's sort of an underserved thing that people don't talk about enough. So I applaud those efforts 100%. Both my parents are veterinarians. That kind of animal stuff is very very
Nice.
close to my heart. Yeah.
Thank you, bud. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thank you, dude. So, all right, let's talk about Mars to wrap this thing up. The new Dota 2 hero. Have you boys gotten a chance to play the old Mars bar?
100% win rate, boys.
100% win rate. Woo! Unstoppable.
Oh,
What do you think,
Yeah,
I
Trent?
haven't dropped into a game since he came out. I've been watching a lot of Mars though. Like whenever I'm in between like watching replays and stuff, I'm checking out pubs and I'm always watching the Mars players. I see Cinderin spamming it almost nonstop on my feed. I feel like every time I look, Cinderin's playing Mars. So
That's his MO. He always plays the new heroes. He's
Yeah.
And how
dirty.
does that work for him?
it looks pretty good, at least when I was watching. I feel like his rank number is going up currently. So, Sin's on the grind, it seems. But
Yeah,
Oh.
that's. I would say he's stupidly strong if you play him correctly. But
Yeah.
there's also what I like about it. You have these counters for him. It's not like he's gonna snowball out of control just because he's like that good. You actually have to know what you're doing,
Mhm.
and you actually have to put in some thought on when to actually engage and stuff like that. But also, if you think about it, you can just counter pick him too. Like Dark Willow, great counter pick. I love Pangolier against him. I know the guys hate Pangolier playing against Pango, but I mean he's a fun hero to play,
Storm.
and especially against him. Storm Spirit also.
Zip out of the ult. BKB, also a very good item. Counters the ultimate. You can just walk out of it. So for all of
that,
you
that was one of the
BKB
biggest
deniers,
surprises.
So
to
what
me.
is that item? I never heard of it.
Yeah, I
I
know,
never
that's-
seen it in my
I think
4K
he needs
games.
a boring King Bar, I believe.
the boring King bar. That's
The
exactly
boring
right.
King Bar.
That's exactly
You're
right.
dropping the memes. now,
Blink
too.
Dagger too. That's the other one. If he drops his ult but doesn't do damage to you, you can blink out of it real quick.
Yeah.
That's another kind of half counter. But I agree. I think he feels very strong. I think he's going to be one of these heroes that is definitely better in pub games than he will be in pro games. Maybe viable in pro, but he is just so good at inserting chaos into shitty solo queue games that are already overly chaotic because people aren't coordinated. It is so satisfying catching two people in
he's
that
the
ult.
least broken of the hero releases in a long time.
Oh yeah.
I would agree. I think that's a fair
But he-
assessment.
But he is
Willow,
basically
Monkey.
he's basically a disruptor on steroids.
Yeah, he's still good for sure. Oh, the spear, I gotta say, very satisfying. I'm a
Mhm.
big fan of that ability. Like when you see that spear hit somebody and like perfectly get them onto the tree, you're just like, oh yeah, oh that was real good.
Yep.
Yeah. I just think some minor tweaks to it all would be perfect because the hero itself, yeah, it's good. It's a little bit too good, but it's not like you said. It's definitely the most stable hero that we've gotten from the new releases.
I still have nightmares about the Monkey King release, dude. That shit was just unfun. Actually, just not fun. I've been
Install the game.
I've been playing Mars on the 4 mostly and going like Phase, Soul Ring, Deso. That's kind of my jam right now, and it feels
It's,
pretty okay. It's very greedy.
It's interesting.
My 5
that you-
hates me, but it's fun.
Yeah.
That you bring that up though, because like when he first, so for example, the first day he came out, he started about like a 47% win rate, and then over the past 2 weeks, he's just slowly climbed to about 54%. So it's like people are, and that's still fairly balanced. So, it's a little high, but it's funny how it just takes that time for people to figure out the build and what a difference that makes. It's not just like this flat out abilities that he has. It's still this idea of exactly like.
But it's also like these pros that I would say Waga makes a great case for these things, that when he actually explores the new heroes in different ways, and he actually finds these ridiculous, because I know one of the first games that he played this phase Vlads phase Soul Ring Vlads into Deso.
Yeah, exactly.
And all of a sudden no one can do anything, and it's like that stuff works. But that's also what I love about this game is you can come up with these crazy things. Like you see these crazy things that become so broken, like Viper. Damn,
Yeah.
that is so boring.
Yeah,
But
that came out of
also
nowhere, right?
and that came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then you have also Shadow Fiend who goes Guardian Greaves, which I
True.
love,
Yep.
which is a great thing. But no one, okay, why should he get that? And all of a sudden, he works on
Yeah.
Viper. Why didn't he work on this guy?
Yeah, we've talked about that a couple podcasts ago. Like, if you could go back in time, how many metas were there that had all of these cool things lurking beneath the surface that weren't discovered, and then a nuclear patch comes out that completely changes the game? And sometimes it's really good. It's like, I'm so tired of this troll sniper meta. This is just awful. But it's like, what if we had that for another 6 months? Would we have found some new way to handle that, or some new counter that didn't exist before as the meta develops?
For sure.
I mean, StarCraft 2 is kind of like that, right? It's been the same.
I miss the
same game
the
forever.
older pet.
Or StarCraft
like the
1. I
long
meant to say.
patches.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
Melee is what? I mean, 15, 20 years old
Something
or
like
something
that.
now, and there's still things changing and tier lists adjusting over the past like 5 years
Yeah.
or so.
Yeah.
I mean, I never had really a problem with a ho haha patch. It's all about picking unconventional heroes, and if you're good at them, it just works. And I mean, I've been playing a lot of PA during my years, and I always thought that hero was broken. Now, the last couple of patches, people realized it, and now it's not even fun to play it anymore, just because it's such a main pick.
Oh yeah, I feel the same way. Like I can't play the thing that's like the most common or whatever. I feel dirty.
Dude, that's how I felt with Dazzle. I loved Dazzle when he was underrated. All of a sudden, he becomes the hot-ish first pick, first spam. Like, now I'm a lame Dazzle spammer. This isn't cool anymore. I'm not a hipster. I'm just a front runner. That's an awful feeling.
He's still a cool.
I mean, I still love Dazzle,
I love that.
but it's just a shitty feeling when you go from, I got my guy, he's my guy, I've been loving my guy, no one else loves my guy, Dazzle's underloved, and all of a sudden, your guy becomes everybody else's guy, and you're not cool anymore. You're just another guy.
And he leaves you for the cooler guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, true.
It's
The
tough.
better ones.
Cool, boys. Well, Linus, anything else you want to get off your chest? Dota-wise, hockey-wise, anything else? I think we're going to wrap this thing up pretty quick here. So anything else you want to talk about? Floor is yours, my man.
Well, thank you. No, it actually has been terrific to being on here. It's not every day you get to connect with other people that plays this wonderful game of Dota 2 as I do. So I thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, dude, it's
Pleasure.
the pleasure is ours. Believe me, it's a rarity that we get to talk to professional athletes that also like our game and respect our game, and aren't just like, hey, I heard of esports, but actually play it and love it, and we can have a real in-depth conversation about heroes and picks and spells, and that's just awesome, man. It's really been an absolute pleasure. Good luck in the rest of the season. We'll be watching from afar. Mott very regularly keeps us updated on all Saber news, so the Moonduck house is plugged in, man. We're on the pulse.
Thanks, bud. And also F-slacks.
Yeah.
Very appropriate.
Exactly right. So, Trent, anything else on your chest this week, bud?
Nah, send it off.
All right.
All good.
Cool. We're wrapping her up then. Happy belated St. Patrick's Day to everyone out there. You'll find this podcast in the usual places, the Moonduck YouTube, youtube.com/moonducktv, and the audio only on Zyori.tv, the only podcast hosted at Zyori.tv. That's it. We're done. We'll see y'all next time. Thank you so much for watching.